What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus, and welcome back to the Save Point Podcast, episode 12. I am Alex Nias, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sway, but we got an incredibly special guest here. Actually, this was completely put on by Sway, so do you want to introduce our esteemed guest here?
Yes, we have a great guest here. He does all type of content on Marvel's Midnight Suns. He's been doing content on Transformers, a content creator that I've watched well before I was even talking to him. I'm going to let King Greek introduce himself, tell you what he's about.
Hi, everybody. My name is King. All of my friends call me Greek or KG. I'm a content creator that covers a wide variety of games, but I primarily specialize in comic related gaming. I'm just I'm just genuinely someone who's not all that smart that's trying to have a great time playing games and talking about it with other people. I'm just a common man.
You fit in well, then. I think that's kind of generally all of us. So what we always tend to do at the beginning of these episodes is talk about what we've been playing. We do have a couple specific topics of Midnight Suns and so forth, but we want to get to what we've been up to. So, gentlemen, what's been going on in the gaming worlds for each of you?
Hogwarts Legacy on 2 different consoles. I'm clearly ahead on my PS5 version, but due to having 2 jobs, obviously one job I actually have to leave home for.
Yeah.
So when I'm there, Steam Deck, of course. And then when I'm at home, obviously PlayStation. So Hogwarts Legacy though is pretty much where my time has been still. Loving it. What about you guys?
I would say, outside of my normal games that I play for streaming and content and whatnot, 2 games I've definitely been playing them all the time and I've been loving them. One of them is Lego DC Supervillains.
Oh my god!
Not because I'm excited for Suicide Squad, but because it was the free game of the month, and I've actually come to like the game a lot. Like a lot for a Lego game, a lot of the humor does hit, so I do appreciate that. And I've also been playing an indie game known as Ali World, which
Yes.
is a
Yeah.
skateboarding game. That game, in my honest opinion, because I do like lo-fi in general,
Yeah.
but Ali World I think has one of the best soundtracks I've heard for a video game in like the past decade.
It's a gem. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, have you played Hi-Fi Rush?
I want to, but I don't see. I could if I get Game Pass on my
Yeah.
computer, but I'm broke,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
can't play it.
Well, speaking of soundtracks, that game freaking rocks. I mean, true, like from the
Mhm.
soundtrack, visuals, that game. If you like Ali World soundtrack, I think Hi-Fi Rush. That's a good one. But quite the
Mhm.
diversity there. I've just done Atomic Heart, played as much as I guess can tolerate. I do want to go back to it, but I'm just in this lull. We have talked about this actually, Sway and I, of really up until Resident Evil. There's not Wolong. I'm excited for Wolong next week, actually, next Thursday. But there really isn't all that much else. So I did Atomic Heart. I haven't played Hogwarts since I beat it, and I'm still doing the videos. My wife, though, okay, let me tell you about her real fast. 72 hours she's put in.
Whew.
She's almost at the platinum.
Mm.
She's maybe 2 hours away. She's extremely This game, I will say, as a retired trophy hunter and as a guy who studies, achievements and trophies on the side, which I do, it's a very annoying platinum. This is a it's a collectathon. You have to do literally everything. And I don't know. Those are like the best platinums are not when you have to feel like you're grinding for like the extra 20 hours. The best platinums kind of come naturally. Maybe you have to do something very, very special on the side. This game is literally find every chest in the game and all this. Like, it's pretty bad. I would not rate this platinum in terms of its quality very high. But the funniest part, okay? So I played it on Podcast Now's account. I have a personal account, which was like my original place, which is where I play all my games. Is where I have like my 45 platinums. She's playing on that one. So although she's I'll let everybody at home in. Once she platinums it, it'll technically be mine because it's on my profile. So just want to make that known. So yeah, and then I started Yakuza 0. I've been told by so many people throughout the last year to play the freaking Yakuza games. And I said, all right, well, I was looking through Game Pass. What can I play? And I found Yakuza. It's the whole series. And I thought, well, let's do it in sequential order, like the order of the story, which would be Yakuza 0 first. And I love it. I was actually complaining to my friend because I was joking with him, but I was also kind of serious. The first 30 minutes is pretty nothing. And I was like, when does it get good? And he messaged me and he said, how dare you ask me that question? Yakuza is always good. But right around the 45-minute mark of Yakuza 0, it becomes elite. And I'm like 4 hours in and it is elite. So just want to kind of throw that out there that I'm officially a Yakuza fan now. And I don't know if I'm going to play all 12 games in the franchise, but
you're going to.
I will. But Judgment, Lost Judgment, Kiwami, like there's so many. I think there's 12 or 13. There's so many Yakuza games, and they're like 20 to 40 hours each. So I'll have to space some. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed. I do eventually want to play through. I did Black Flag last year. I want to do things like Unity or Syndicate and stuff. But to play like 15 Assassin's Creed games, you got to split them maybe like 3 or 4 a year and, go like that. Just playing through that many Yakuza or Assassin's Creed games there's all our lives. Now, King Greek, one of the things you've jumped to, well, I guess, do you want to start with Midnight Suns? So your kind of rise to fame on YouTube was your incredible, I was going to say intense, it was probably both, coverage of Midnight Suns, and you eventually now have gone on to a little bit of Transformer stuff, so we'll talk about Reactivate later. Where are you kind of on Midnight Suns? I remember when the game came out, you got it, you got the review code, you had sunk in these hundreds of hours. Have you kept up with it with the DLCs and all that jazz? What's your opinion on the current day Midnight Suns?
The current day Midnight Suns, I would say, is definitely pretty solid. I can't speak for anybody else because I know other people do run into things like bugs and various issues. Only thing I can say on that end is that from what I've seen, the dev team has been very responsive in trying to figure out what these bugs are and fixing them. But the game so far still pretty much stands up for me in terms of my enjoyment with it. Now I will admit, I have begun to slow down a bit, seeing it's not like I've already sunk so many hours into the game.
Yeah.
And I'm in the end game now, essentially. I think where I had stopped at unlocking Ultimate 2. And I've been playing around on that difficulty quite a bit. The DLC, I would say, definitely are some strong additions. I definitely wasn't expecting Deadpool and Venom to release like a month apart. Normally, it would be like a month or two apart. Like you would get Deadpool in January. Oh, we might see Venom at the end of March or early April. No, he's here. He's here today. Like at the day of recording this show, Venom is released in Midnight Suns. If anybody wants to go by them and check them out, the character depictions have been done very well. I believe this is one of the few games I've seen that has Deadpool in it that manages to capture the craziness of his character, but also the sadness of him at the same time, with him trying his hardest to refer to the Suns as his work friends and not his general friends, because people that gets close to him ends up getting hurt in horrendous ways, and he doesn't want that. And Venom because I haven't gotten a chance to try him out yet, but it seems like they're leaning pretty heavily on the whole redemption storyline. So I'm excited to check that out. But Midnight Sun so far has been pretty solid, and I can only imagine that is going to continue to get even more of that once Morbius and Storm gets here, and if they ever decide to do any more DLC in the future. Because I don't know if you guys know, but the recent storyline is going on right now. It's pulled straight from the comics. It's pretty cool. We have a possible war brooding. But do you mind if I do spoilers?
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Okay, so there seems to be a possible war brewing between Doctor Doom and Dracula because of the events of the first DLC. And now Mephisto is one of the main characters in the second DLC after having a role to play in the main story. He's heavily involved with Venom, and he's also connected to the whole Dracula and Doom possible showdown that's may or may not take place in the future. So it's definitely taking on a very comic booky approach, which I do like. It's not trying to be hyper realistic.
Have you seen the stuff of the people leaving and these what worries me, I
Yeah.
suppose, and also like you talk about future DLC, say after the season pass worth, game didn't sell well, people leaving the studio and stuff, which and I don't even know, Sway, have you and I kind of talked about it? Because like my opinion on it is that sucks. This whole narrative, which is actually just factually true, of it not selling, people leaving, like the higher ups leaving, it sends the message to these big wig executives that like, these aren't the games that work, and this was something that scared people off in the beginning. So like in a weird way, like it actually did kind of happen. Like us being like, well, the card thing isn't too bad. Like just give it a chance. And people saying, no, we're not going to do it. And the game is fantastic and it's a different kind of game. But it certainly does seem like it turned so many people off. This game didn't do well. And then I can't imagine that message doesn't make it to the executives and says, we probably made more money on Marvel's Avengers than we did on this. And that sucks for the future, because it's not even Midnight Suns 2. It just hurts different kinds of different kinds of Marvel games.
different types of genres, and it's also tragic because like I think all three of us can cite that, like when it comes to reviews, we don't necessarily listen to them, right?
Yeah.
We might take them into account, but our personal experience is going to go from there. And it was kind of refreshing to see that, like, not only were the journalism reviews really good, but people's reaction to the game, as far as like actual customers' reactions, who actually played it, were also really good. And I think that that's something that would go like to be accounted for. But at the same time, with those sales not being there, that's something that in the back of my mind, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it to either one of you, but that was always a concern of mine. Not just because with the Marvel IP, that was the power to move forward. But when I feel like most gamers look at a tactical RPG, whether it be like a Fire Emblem, whether it be like how some of the Final Fantasies were, even Marvel's Midnight Suns, they look at it, and some people have said it. Like I've seen it, they'll say like, "Oh, it's a mobile game." You know what I'm saying? It should be on your phone. And people have that disconnect, and I think that that's just it's not a fault of the game at all. It's the I'm a big believer that the term "the customer is always right" is a little bit outdated. Gaming can be anything. It can be multiple things. It has many shapes and forms, and a lot of people are closed-minded to it. You know what I'm saying? And so the superhero genre in specific, I feel like a lot of the fans always expect that action adventure, and I think sometimes
Insomniac.
And a lot of the times what we don't realize is that we'll ask for things different. We'll ask for, why don't we get these games? Why don't we get those games? And then we get them and we're like, why isn't it like Batman Arkham or Spider-Man?
Right.
And so there's gonna have
if
to
I
be
can add.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, like if I can add, I do agree with you. That's not just like really us in general with superhero games. It's more so just gamers in general. But you do primarily see it with things like superhero games and anime games. Like you get the same type of games over and over again. But then once people will start asking for something new, something different. Like, why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? Why can't we get a game with this character? Like we've had so many Batman games and this and that. A Booster Gold game having us travel through time, fixing certain events in the DC canon, like making sure Jaime is the one that gets the Scarab, or making sure that Flash actually sets off Flashpoint. Just like stuff like that would make for a good game. But the thing is, it's not even just people, but the companies too. We ask for something different, but then when we get it, they don't help it perform so that we can continue getting stuff like that. So it's just back to the same old, which unfortunately was the same for Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns did well with who it was supposed to do well with. But in terms of everything else, she had like you can definitely look at it as a commercial failure. That is what was stated, and it sucks because Midnight Suns isn't really a bad game. right? It's
That's great.
turn-based, yeah, but I feel like
Right.
I feel like definitely what turned people off the most, besides it being turn-based, was just the card aspect. Because if you look at something like Persona, Persona is a turn-based game, and people love that series. People who don't
Yeah.
even enjoy anime games that much love that series. But the card aspect is what really just threw people off, and it
Mm-hmm.
it sucks because like I said, like I said this about Midnight Suns, I said this about Gotham Knights, I said this about Suicide Squad. These three games in general, in terms of it being different genres or different characters that aren't flagship characters, these were opportunities to show the public that we want different games. We want games with characters like Booster Bowl. We want games with characters like the Defenders. We want games with people like the Justice Society. We want games with a bigger Suicide Squad roster. But when we get them, they don't get enough support, and that's the same thing that they're asking for is usually the same thing that ends up killing them, and people are too pig-headed to see that
Well,
in
And
a
I'll
I
sense.
go ahead,
okay.
Sway.
Okay. And I say that comes from it's kind of like the Batman thing, right? I think that there's, and this is like a conversation that, like, I think generally the gaming community, specifically the superhero gaming community, could use, which is like there are the heroes that have been pushed. So like Batman has been the only character that DC has used for like the last 10 years. Hence why I'm not surprised why if Batman's not in it, they don't care.
Right.
But it's another thing to like where say like comic book fans who like have read the comics old and new, they want to see these other characters. There's this whole other lore. Imagine just like the Avengers or like the MCU for 10 years just being Spider-Man, and you had Iron Man in the wait, you had Captain America in the wait, and you never really got to see the potential of any of these characters. And that's kind of what DC basically did with Batman. So um a lot of comic book fans are also like closed-minded as far as like gaming comic book fans, and there's that clash between the people who has read the comics and kind of know about the overarching world and like trust me, you guys will like it if you see more of it, versus like the people who only interact with it from a commercial standpoint, and like they see the shows, they see the movies, they play the games, and that's as far as they take it, and that's all they want. So
Yeah.
there's that clash, and I believe that eventually like it's got to be met together. But I believe that's the reason why we're seeing a lot of the conversation of people saying that they want the same thing over and over again, and eventually want things differently but not supporting it. It's just that class of diehard, people who really delve into that media versus people who just casually do it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it,
Well,
and we got to find a way around it.
well, you said one of the things, like, part of it is on the companies, right? So riding
Yeah.
Batman forever in the Arkham games, that's
Mm-hmm.
on them. And now, because I was actually going to ask, we can ask this maybe after, like Spider-Man and Batman may be the things that kind of ruin it, right? Batman for
Yep.
one and Spider-Man for the other. What's up?
50%. Both Batman and Spider-Man. I've done my research on this. Anybody can fact check me on this. Batman and Spider-Man own almost very close to 50% of both Marvel and DC's entire gaming catalog.
That
And
is true.
that's either as the main billing character or a main character in an ensemble game, i.e.
Yep.
Mortal Kombat versus DC or
Yeah.
Injustice. And it goes to show that's why we get a game to try something new. It fails. Who do we fall back to? Spider-Man or Batman?
Which and but
But,
that and it makes
yeah.
sense. Like I understand it. Another thing I was gonna say too is in this modern age of like handing out these games to whoever, this was kind of wave one, and I think wave one was kind of a failure in a lot of different, like Midnight Suns failure in sales, Avengers failure in general, Gotham Knights you could probably argue failure maybe in both ways, not massive maybe for either. Because it wasn't, I don't know. I have conflicting thoughts. We talked about Gotham Knights enough, but one of the things that I'm looking forward to, I think, how do you fix this? I can think of a
Yeah.
couple ways. Number one, I think the Wonder Woman game crushes it. I think it will
Yes.
absolutely. So that probably saves
Mhm.
DC and says, okay, we can do things besides just Batman. Suicide Squad, coin flip, right? If it goes well, that's another sign you could do other things. Amy Henning's Black Panther and Captain America game. That's a game that can probably steer the Marvel side back on track, where it's not Marvel's Avengers. It's not really even going to be like Spider-Man. This is Uncharted, but it's which is very high quality. I don't know how many people know her by name, but I think enough people do. And then you have Black Panther and Captain America to kind of sell it. So that probably, directs them in the right way. Iron Man from Motive, who's pretty overall a good studio. So I feel like Wave 2 for both. Now DC just has to give more of these out, And I think a game of like a really wild character that's, not maybe like a booster gold kind of thing, but a Daredevil, right? If you have Troy Baker, if he actually gets his wish, right? Doesn't he always want a Daredevil game? If you have that happen and it works and it's really good, that's probably your best indicator that he's not as left field as other characters, but he's close. And so he's outside of the Avengers kind of area. So if you have that game that actually exists, which I kind of believe it does, and it works, then that, because Spider-Man and Wolverine, they'll continue to crush it, and there'll probably be more Batman games in the future. You'd have to find a replacement for Kevin, but those will always happen, and that's fine. But then you're going to need these Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman probably more than maybe even – I have so much faith in Wonder Woman over maybe even Amy Hennig's game, which is odd.
Same.
I love – she's so good. That game may be a masterpiece as well.
Have you played the Mordor series at all?
The what?
The Shadow of Mordor series.
Yes. Yeah, I love them.
Okay, yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, like that alone is the reason why
yeah,
I would say
that is
I'm
my reason. I have a lot
so-
of faith in Monolith as a studio, and the only reason the microtransactions and stuff came from above. Just let them do their thing. They're maybe low key the most talented WB, maybe Avalanche at this point, but like I think they may be more talented.
I still go Monolith.
I think Monolith. Yeah, I would even put over current day Rocksteady. I think I would trust Monolith more at this point, which is nuts. But yeah, I got a lot of faith in Wonder, and then I'd probably say Amy Hennig's game. I got, will she ever do us wrong? It's either her game comes out as a masterpiece or her studio gets shut down. Those are the only two things that can happen. She doesn't deliver, anything else.
I'm very hopeful for Suicide Squad simply just because if that does well, that means we'll get to see more. We'll get to see more characters from the lower side of DC. Because obviously they're much more popular now thanks to the recent years. But all of these are characters who used to be like what the highest one was maybe Harley and B tier max. Everyone else was like C tier or lower.
Yeah.
And funny enough, out of every game in Marvel and DC, this is only the second game where we have villains as the main characters. The first one being Lego DC supervillains, and then on top of that, like when the whole thing was made, these were lesser villains too. Like it's not like we got a Legion of Doom game with Sinestro, Dawn, Luther, the counteracts to every main league member. But no, we got the bottom of the barrel, which is the whole selling point for Suicide Squad.
I do just want to make that clear. We're talking about Suicide Squad. When we're recording this, it's before the state of play. So 15 minutes we haven't seen yet. I'll be covering it. I'm sure in different ways. All three of us will be covering it. Maybe we can talk about it next week as well. I'm hopeful. I mean, it's odd because you'll see this video afterwards, but we're recording in the past. I'm hopeful for those 15 minutes. I think that's exactly what they need to do. We'll see if it, we'll know on Saturday when this goes up if it worked,
And I think also what Suicide Squad does is open the door for there to be even more variety in the superhero gaming genre. And I think that even though Midnight Suns, Gotham Knights, even though we can look at them as failures, they're kind of all successes because they're all doing something different.
Yeah.
They're breaking the mold and they're giving us opportunities to get different type of genres in gaming into these superhero games. They're going to make something for every type of fan and they're going to be specific. So like I said, tactical RPGs, I never expect them to sell extremely well unless it's Fire Emblem. But other than that, like
XCOM
it's
has
gonna
historically, I assume, done okay.
XCOM as well. And
Yeah.
so with those having, if Suicide Squad, which we already know is a shooter, basically, um, if that's what it turns out to be, and they give us a great experience, there's open for more. I mean, everybody loved the shooter aspect in the Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
It was something that people liked over time. So I think that there is room for diversifying the superhero games genre, and everything doesn't have to be a action adventure. How many action adventures have we already had?
Yeah.
We even got fighting games in the superhero games genre. So why not expand on it more?
If Suicide Squad is, I wish Suicide Squad, and we won't know, like Sunset Overdrive, because it gives me those vibes already that it could be a little Sunset Overdrive-y with the little bit of the,
Which I'd love.
what is an incredible, I mean, it's a masterpiece. So I really, like, if it's somewhere in that realm, I think that'd be pretty cool. And it gives me that vibe. Again, we'll see in those 15 minutes, maybe if it gives us more. Let's switch really quick because I do want to talk about Transformers. King Greek, you've kept up with the leaks. I was behind you. I saw the leaks after you had done it. I've tried to keep up with it at least a little bit. I'm kind of excited for it, but how are you feeling about Transformers?
From everything that I've seen so far, right? Just from the initial reveal and also from the leaks, which are okay. Talk about Splash Damage hasn't really said anything, but also I'm not gonna get into that part. But it seems like it's going to be a genuine cross up of Destiny and Warframe. Like it's definitely going to be a live service game, which I do like. I know a lot of people are getting very tired of live service games, but at the same time, I do want something that I can actually like. I want a game that I can play for quite some time. I don't have to like sign my life over, like if I was playing Diablo or something like that. But just something I could genuinely spend some time on and play for a while, because as we all know, games are pretty short. They can be quick, one or done. I personally can finish like the entirety of Arkham City within like 10 hours. So it's I want something that I can definitely play and spend some time on. For those who don't know, I believe the game, it hasn't been said that the game is coming out this year, but there is supposed to be a beta this year. I don't know when I don't know if it's going to be open or closed. I don't know when the signups for that are going to start, but there is going to be a beta. So I would definitely say look out for that. And the game is not going to be Rise of the Dark Spark. I can say that for sure. For anyone who's ever touched that game, don't worry. You will no longer have any hate for the Transformers series after playing this.
But they did have good ones. War for Cybertron is one of the most underrated. It's an underrated gem. So that's a great game. So
yeah. Actually, one that's more underrated than the Cybertron series is Devastation. Devastation was very good.
Yeah. Yep.
Devastation was wonderful. Really it's just Rise of the Dark Spark. That's really the only bad egg in Transformers house of games. But no, I'm definitely excited for it. Hopefully the information train will start to kick up a little bit more around time when Rise of the Beast promotion starts to kick up, because I know Hasbro likes that type of connectivity across, all of their products and whatnot. Because I know there's already been lots of stuff that's been talked about, like battle passes and seasons and characters and whatnot and storylines like this. If you're a Destiny or Warframe player, then I do think that you're gonna like Transformers Reactivate.
Yeah, I've generally liked everything we've seen from it. The live service lasting forever kind of thing depends on how it goes. I don't give those games great odds going in because there's way more failures than successes. But if they nail it, and for me, like I'd only be looking for just give me a couple weeks. I can go in, play it. The only thing that worries me about this game is the rumors that not only has this game been in the works for like a long time, but that it feels now we've seen some of these like the early play tests. But the rumor before it was announced at the Game Awards was that it feels old. It feels like this game should have came out like 2-3 years ago. That scares me quite a bit that this game is like way behind schedule of when the era it should have released in, because that era might also reflect in the live service nature, right? It may feel like a live service game of the. Hopefully people wake up, like these live service things improve as time goes on. But if you have a game kind of living in the past, it's still back there. That's probably the only thing that worries me. But I'm not even a huge Destiny or Warframe person. But if it's fun, you get to play as your favorite of either side, I'm in. I'm in for at least a limited time. What do you feel, Sway?
I think I'm in the same ballpark as you. Depending on with me, live service is always a toss up. I go in trying not to judge them. It's hard not to, but I go in giving everything a fair shake, and just see how it plays out. It all comes down to execution, really. Like for example, with Avengers, they kind of we said with Hogwarts Legacy, but in the worst way, where they were trying to do everything right. So Avengers was in. For me personally, I really enjoyed the story of Avengers, but everything else I just wasn't too much of a fan of. So anytime they would come back with like story DLC, like the Wakanda one, the Hawkeye one, the Hawk one, I would always come back for that because I love the stories that they were telling and I liked playing through the game in that aspect. But it also felt like it was two different games. You know what I'm saying? On one side you have the story, on the other side you have this live service. So it all, to me, live service all depends on how they execute it. It's kind of like one thing where you can't really try to do both, and we've seen that even with Gotham Knights. They tried to do both and eventually pulled back and went with the story route, but it was too late, and we still had some of that bleed over from the live service. So it all comes down to execution for me. I'm excited right now. I do have concerns, but those are all just in execution pretty much.
Yeah.
I will say, just to keep this in as an important piece of information, the game did switch developers. It did switch studios, so it's under Splash Damage now. Which also, fun fact for anyone who enjoyed Arkham Origins, the same company who worked on the multiplayer from Arkham Origins is working on Transformers Reactivate. It's not with the same studio. And the screenshots and leaks that everybody have seen going around, which are real. Those are from not only from a much older deal, like as far back as 2019, I would so to say.
Yeah,
that's from the previous studio. Like we've seen, like in terms of what Splash Damage has done, we've seen none of that. So in terms of like I'm hoping that the comments about the game playing old and feeling like it should have came out years ago was more so just tied to how the old studio was working on it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for all we know, Splash Damage could have completely revamped the game in the time that they've had it. Because I don't think we truly know how long that they've had it. But yeah, it's just I just wanted to add that in. Like
no,
that's
definitely that's important, and that's like Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2. I think it's a really. I've been more defensive. Maybe I'll shift over now to Transformers. Dead Island 2, obviously, so much back and forth, and I get it. Like when you have a game like Dead Island 2, you can't help but kind of jab it a bit. But the team that has Dead Island 2, they've had it for like the last 5 years. Like it hasn't. Yes, it's been canceled like 3 times, but the team that's releasing it right now in another 2 months, they feel confident, and they probably have reason to because they've had it for consistently. They've had it for like half a decade. So if it's a similar-ish thing with Transformers, you can have all the negative stories of the past as you want, and they're valid and they're fair. But you have to remember who has it now, how long have they had it, what did they do or change. Specifically for Dead Island, it seems like they changed quite a bit, and this is their version of what they want it to be. I hope there's I thought the same thing when it was first shown at the Game Awards. I was hoping the game released this year just in general. But I don't know, the way like Sons of the Forest has done it, or just games that do like, early access and stuff. There's a couple different ways of doing it, right? Beta that kind of rolls into an early release of Transformers, and then it technically does release in 2023. There's a couple games like that. Like I wouldn't be Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something kind of like that. So I hope we get it. I kind of forgot about the movie almost entirely. So thank you for reminding me.
So much going on right now. So much going on.
I've been out of it since the Mark Wahlberg era Transformers. I didn't even see Bumblebee, but Do you think there's
I
a
didn't
really
see Bumblebee until years later.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot about it. So thinking about it, it's like, yeah, there wouldn't be a better time to market this game than like
Right now.
May, June,
Yep.
July. Somewhere around that time to match the movie. Not that it has to come out, but just really start to push it. Which means maybe a summer game fest thing. Jeff Keighley, the Game Awards, right? Second half of the year. That could work, I think.
I think that for marketing purposes, they need to if they can't push the game out close to like when the movie comes out, marketing would be the next best choice.
Yeah.
Just to put some eyeballs on it, because it's going to be a lot of people who are weary of it for multiple reasons. So I think that, especially with like a live service element attached to it, you're going to have to market this around some excitement with the franchise in order to kind of give it the best shot you can of getting that success you want out the door.
It sucks in a way to have to come at live service like playing from behind. In a way, it sucks, but also in a way, I think it's very much earned. The industry did it to themselves. Every game that has live service is playing from behind, in my opinion, and needs to give you reason, like to trust them. Like there's almost a built-in no trust in it, and you have to build. Same thing for Suicide Squad. You got to build. Why is Battle Pass a good idea? You don't get nobody should get a benefit of the doubt. That's maybe harsh, but the industry has really gone downhill with that stuff over the last 5 years.
I think that's how fandom looks at it too. That's not even like a harsh thing. I think that's the reality of how the majority of the gaming fans, like the gaming community, looks at live services. I mean, like, even I talk to you all the time about how much I love Halo. One of the things, and the way that they do it, I think they do it in a more tasteful manner than most places do it. But even then, though, I look at the customization and like, look what I can go over and do with the Master Chief Collection versus what I can't do with Halo Infinite, because all for the sake of having a live service battle pass. And so, although I don't mind it, I think that they're respectful with it. I also do get irritated because you're now purposely holding back certain features of the game just to make me either wait or pay for them. And it is frustrating. So no matter who it is, I'm always going to, me personally, I'm always going to look at it with like the side eye, because it's just, I mean, I need to see what you're going to do here to a franchise that I am into with this live service element here. It's always going to be skeptical for me.
I was going to jump into. I asked my friend about the Master Chief Collection. I said, "How good is it really?" Because I wanna play some of the old.
I highly recommend it.
I've heard. I've seen. Really, I mean, it's one of 343's like crowning achievements at this point. One of the only crowning achievements of that studio.
And actually, the division who are over the Master Chief Collection, after all of the recent firings, which are unfortunate, that team is moved over to Infinite.
Ooh,
so now we got a little, like, going forward, if we have that team working on future Halo stuff, I have 100% more confidence than what we've been given prior. So I have faith. I have faith.
There we go. Well, gentlemen, is there any last minute thoughts you want to say to the people at home?
As I always say, drink my water, or you might die.
That's what you said. That's an interesting statement.
As always, thank you guys for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Obviously, ask more questions. Join Alex's new Discord. He does have a new Discord. Definitely ask questions there. We'll both be able to see it. I'm a moderator for it, so we will both be in there being able to interact with you all. And we always appreciate the support. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Well said. I agree. I forgot about the Discord thing. Makes it maybe easier to get questions from you guys, is asking on Discord. If I get the Twitter back, we'll ask it there. But yeah, we really do appreciate it. This is always fun. King Greek, thanks, man, for being the first guests on. We hope to have you again. We will have you again. And hopefully we can kind of build from this and, have other guests kind of come in and out. But this was a lot of fun. So hopefully us three enjoyed it. I think we did. And hopefully everybody at home enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. Go support King Greek. His stuff will always be in the description for this video. So hopefully people see it. I'll leave maybe a pinned comment as well so you guys can show some support. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all on the next one.